Former Prime Minister Gough Whitlam was farewelled yesterday. Sadly, today's politicians are still around. But as this is the final episode of The Roast, I thought they deserved their own farewell. So let's start with the man who's running the country, Clive Palmer. Before the election, I thought the Palmer United Party would be a flaming bag of shit on the doorstep of Parliament that voters would stamp out. But somehow, Clive, they let your flaming bag inside Parliament, and you've been stomping shit around in there ever since. To your credit, though, you did assemble the finest political minds you could find. A Brick, a Wang, and last but most definitely least, Jackie Lambie, the burqa-banning bad dream we can't wake up from, who proves that anyone, and I really mean anyone folks, can be a senator. Then there's Mr. Power Steering himself, Ricky Muir. Well, Ricky, your achievements speak for themselves. And Independent Senator Nick Xenophon. In some weird way, you were the most grown up of all our politicians, and that's even when we take this into account. Also, thank you to the Greens, the party who are willing to negotiate as long as they get 100% of everything they want. You taught us that even if a beloved politician had no affiliation with your party, you can still put him on one of your posters. And it'd be wrong of me not to mention the Labor Party, because God knows they could use the publicity. Thank you, Bill Shorten. I'll always remember the way you... Actually, I can't remember anything you did. Some people lead their parties out of the wilderness. You've led yours back into it. As for the rest of the Labor Party, well, I'll be sure to thank you when you do something. And who could forget the Abbott government? I wish I could. A climate change policy which seems committed to making the climate change. A government that says our country is open for business but closed to asylum seekers. I really am going to miss the bench warmers of Team Australia, specifically those on the front bench. I'm grateful to Erica Betts for helping me understand that abortion is linked to breast cancer. Good thing you're the employment minister, otherwise you'd be out of a job. And Education Minister Christopher Pyne. Thank you for making me happy that I'm no longer a university student because I don't have a spare $100 grand. Attorney General George Brandis, the man with the $15,000 taxpayer-funded bookcase who didn't bother to read the book explaining what metadata is. At least George has some books, though. Environment Minister Greg Hunt doesn't need books or scientific consensus. He's got a website.
Greg Hunt uses Wikipedia research to dismiss links between climate change and bushfires.
Hey George, can you keep an eye on Greg's metadata before he gets his next climate change policy from Urban Dictionary? Joe Hockey, the treasurer who thinks wind farms are ugly and poor people don't drive. Are you sure there's not something stronger than tobacco in those cigars? And finally, Tony Abbott, the naughty boy of the Howard government that somehow became Prime Minister. Where would we be without you? Probably a lot better off, actually. You know, the thing I think I'll miss most about you is your sense of humour. Coal is good for humanity. Loggers are the ultimate conservationists. You crack me up. All the best to you and your team. Shine on, you crazy dicks. And I really do mean dicks. Have you seen that cabinet room? There's only one woman, and she's away overseas a lot of the time. So as I say farewell to you, Australia's politicians, I ask you to think about Gough Whitlam and how Australia remembered him for nation-changing ideas like free education and Indigenous rights. Do you think when you guys die, people will be honouring the memory of Team Australia or Electricity Bill? Wake up! We have a billionaire coal miner napping in the House of Representatives and a rugby league player spear-tackling legislation in the Senate. If we keep this up, we're only a few years away from having red foo in the lodge. So, in the words of a retiring proctologist, goodbye, arseholes. For The Roast, I'm Mark Humphries.
Thank you, Mark.